Well, guys, today we are coming to you from the studio. Finally, again, I am in here and I am working on some spinning and carding and picking and trying to get some fleece going. And what I've discovered is the lamb fleece that I am working on is a very problematic fleece. It is not going well, and I wanted to share with you all the issues we're having, and we're going to see if we can make this into something that will be a usable product. Now, what we're working with here is a lamb fleece from Annie. It's already been washed. I maybe didn't do a very good job of storing it, and it looks amazing, but it really isn't going well, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So what I've discovered is the fleece is very, very fine, and it's full of little bubbly bits. Let's see if I can get this in a little closer for you to see them. See all these little bits here? Bubbly bits. That's what I call them. I'm not sure what the technical term is. Like I said before, I'm a self-taught spinner, but after 6 years of working with Icelandic fleece, I've learned a little bit anyways. Now, this may come down to human error. When I sheared Annie, I was newer at this. This is an old fleece. This is 3 years old. Was washed and then has been sitting in a bag since. And number one, she wasn't super clean. There's a lot of vegetable matter. But number two, I think between her being a bottle-fed lamb and my inexperience in hand shearing, I cut too far from the skin, which left me with a very, very short fell coat layer. I'm going to show you what I mean on that in 1 second here with her raw fleece. So as I start to take this apart, this is her fleece just bunged in here, as you can see. If I pull this bit out, so essentially this is a lock of her fleece. And the fell is this nice, soft, fluffy stuff. Let's see if I can pull it out nicely. At the top. And there's a little bit more in there, but you can see what I mean when I say it is full of these short little bits. And those short little bits are what is causing our problem. And of course, the oats and hay and all that sort of stuff. We'll just get rid of that. But this is where the problem aligns, because you want a fell that is probably that long, not that long. It just makes it a lot easier from a processing perspective. So we're going to just go through this. I'm going to show you what the problems are, and we're going to talk about what we can hopefully do with this product. There's another better example of just the light fluff that's coming off this that is so difficult to process. All right, so I'm going to admit I have skipped ahead and I've already processed some of this fleece into a very usable product. But that is what led to my deciding I would do this as a video, because I think it's important for people to know that just because a fleece is not a prime quality fleece, it doesn't mean you can't make something great. So stay tuned to the end of the video when we start to make this into something. But we're going to start at the beginning of the process, and I use this medieval torture device here, my picker, to loosen up the fibers and get this fleece light and fluffy and ready to be carded. So one thing that I will say is, in general, I don't do a lot to my fleece before I put it through the picker. This is the beauty of the picker. It will take this and fluff it and tear it all apart, sort of, and hopefully knock out some of that vegetable matter that is in there, but I don't really do a lot. So hopefully this will demonstrate well. First I have to undo the safety tag. In general, you're putting a handful clump in at a time. You're dropping it in, being very careful, and then pulling it back. And that's basically it. And you can see eventually here, it's going to come out the other end fluffy. If I see big pieces of hay or something like that, I will remove those. That sort of stuff you don't want to put in there at all. That's really all second cuts. So as you can see just on the table here, there's quite a bit of hay and vegetable matter that fell out even before it went through the picker. And there's the light fluffy clouds that came out the other end. As you can see there, there's still some vegetable matter in there. But the more we process this, the more that will fall out. And now to see what comes out of this. That's actually from 2 sheep. We carted the brown one and a bit of Annie's here. Look at all of that. Yikes, there's even a tick in there. Dead. All right, so now it is time to take this fluffy cloud and card it so that we can make some bats in order to spin. And I'm just going to show you here quickly. This is what, when we card it, you will see where the problem arises. All right, so this old drum carder here is the carder I normally use for my Icelandic fleece. It has a larger, it has a lower number of teeth per square inch than my other carder, and I find for the mixed Lopi yarn, which is blending both the tog and the thell on Icelandic fiber, I find having the lesser peg count, teeth count, works better for getting me a smoother finish. So I'm going to demonstrate for you quickly here what happens when I use this carder. So as you can see, there is still some fiber on here because I did use this one for Annie's fleece earlier. So you can see it's going on there, and it's actually going on there quite smoothly. Now remember, this is pass number 1. Now one thing that I am finding myself having to do, you can see here, there's some hay. I'm trying to pick it out as I go. The more you work this in, the harder it is to get it out when it comes time for spinning. But I'm sure you're already starting to see, and I know this is only the first pass, but you're already starting to see what is the problem here. I'm going to run this through again, so have no fear. We will be looking at it after another pass. There's so much vegetable matter in this. It's definitely not a sellable fleece or a sellable yarn. But what I'm trying to show is that you can still get a usable product out of this. There's our little opening bit. Like I say, you could go a lot thicker on this, but with this particular fleece, I've learned not to do that. Every Icelandic fleece is different. So let's get this off. Don't fall. And here we have pass 1, and you can see, like when I separate there, these thick little knobblies that just don't want to get worked up on this particular carder. I'm going to go through one more time. So we split the bat into quarters or 4, and we're going to put it back through. It really is just kind of a very garbagey fleece, but it's a lamb fleece and I'm trying not to waste. So after another pass. Again, you can see the type of stuff that we are getting out of this fleece. These problematic hairs that just are not going to spin up nicely. But we can always use them for dryer balls. Well, maybe not, because they're pretty full of vegetable matter. But if they weren't full of vegetable matter, you could certainly use these for dryer balls. So there is after 2 passes through, and you can see all those bits in there still. And the thing I've learned so far is even 3 or 4 passes through the carder, they are still there. So I'm going to run this through 2 more times, and then I will show you the end result. So here you can see that bat after 4 times through. It doesn't look too bad, but it's a little deceiving. A lot of vegetable matter and a lot of little fluffies here that you can still sort of see in there. But there is the pile of vegetable matter that was underneath the carder that came out of that bat. So all in all, it does do what it's supposed to do by combing those hairs straight, but also removing vegetable matter. Look at that stinking rotten cat in the window. She's sleeping on a bag of clean fleece. Spoilt rotten. These cats have so many beds around here. Whoa, don't push me off. Feeding time in the morning, and I'm doing my fleece check. And so far, the only one that's really bad here is Annie. I'm going to show you if she'll stay standing. She has broke. And look at that. If I just grab here, you can see it just pulls out. Hey, Annie. But so far, she's the only one of all this gorgeous fleece that seems to be ready to come off. There's Chloe over there. She's very standoffish. She doesn't do the whole come eat while I'm sitting on the bale. Oops. But that is what we have coming off of Annie. Her fleece is ready. I know, Anya? Yours is not. Anya's a little skittish too. That's you, Annie. It is coming off both sides, but it's staying a bit better here. But I mean, if you go in here, let me see if I can show you. If you go in here, you can still see, watch. Here. This is what we're actually looking for in our sheep, is a break. We're starting to select ones that their hair does break. Look at that. It's not quite as ready on this side. She's not loving that I'm pulling that out. This is something that we often see in our lambs, but not so much in our 3- and 4-year-old ewes. It seems to be a trait that disappears as they get more and more adult fleece. But Annie still breaks every year. And it causes problems because we're still just the beginning of February. And we don't want it to break yet. What do you think, Anya? Good stuff? It's a good bale of hay, huh? Hey, hi, sweetie. Hi. She's friendly, just not that friendly. Let's see if we can tech hers. Hey, sweetie. It's okay. Nope. She's like, nope. Another one here who's got beautiful, beautiful fleece is Freya. Freya, look at this. Light and fluffy. She has gorgeous fleece this year. Super excited. We're going to take it off early. But look, I don't know if you can tell how long that is. Definitely 6 inches, if not more. Annie's having a moment and she's really behaving for me. And look at this, watch. It just comes out. Unbelievable. Hi, girl. Hey. So, I imagine we're going to be doing a ruing video about Annie here soon. Because I don't want to lose this beautiful fleece. I'm actually working on her lamb fleece right now, which is 3 years old. And it was very problematic, but she's grown into having a beautiful, beautiful fleece. All right, so now that we've kind of moved ahead and gotten a few of those bats done, we are now kind of separating it out so that we can spin it. And one thing you will see here is there is still a lot of vegetable matter in this fleece. definitely a lot of bobbly bits. There's a lot of things that would be considered problematic. So I'm very curious to see if we get a workable final product, as well as being able to make something that's usable out of that product. So we shall see. So basically, I have worked ahead. I've cheated. I've started spinning. And one thing that I have discovered with this is that it is easier to spin something like this thin or really thick. Those are kind of my options. So I've never actually spun something like sock yarn before, at least not intentionally. And that is what we're kind of going for. So here you can see as I kind of pull a piece of this thread, it's not thread, yarn off of the bobbin here, you can see that it is still a little bit thicker than a store-bought sock yarn, but I'm still impressed, and I definitely think we'll be able to make some sort of slipper socks or something with that. But let's get going with some more spinning and get this bobbin filled up so we can get it off and get started on some knitting. Okay, we're going to just stop here so I can show you. This is what's happening with this, quote, problematic fleece, with all those little baubles of stuff that you saw in the bats. And what I've just been doing is just going, and you don't have to pluck them out. This is pure personal taste. But if you pluck those out, you can see you are actually left with a really nice thin yarn. You can see here another advantage to this. I'm actually about to flick out some hay. When you're spinning it really thin, you can get those clumps of vegetable matter out as well. All right, so you can see here we have finally got our bobbin all filled up with this gorgeous gray yarn. There's still a little bits of vegetable matter in there on occasion, but all in all, it has spun up quite well. There's definitely some bobbly bits still, but nothing compared to what you can see here on my floor. I certainly picked off quite a bit as we were going. Now, as you know, I was going for a sock yarn thickness. This is a store-bought roll of yarn here, and obviously we're not quite there. It's a little bit thicker, but I still feel quite confident we can make a pair of slipper socks out of this. So next step right now is to get this off of our bobbin. So normally when I take it off of the bobbin, I would wind it onto my nitty knotty. This just gives me an idea of the length. It winds it into a nice skein, and it's excellent for then doing a hot to cold kind of dip to really shock it and make sure that it's had any shrinkage. But this is some old fleece, which I did my old method of washing, which was wash in hot, rinse in cold, which I've since learned is not the best way to wash it. But the nice thing is it's pretty much all pre-shrunk and felted. So if it was going to do that, it's already done it. So we're going to take it straight from the wheel onto our ball winder, because this is just for me. It's not for selling purposes or anything else. So this is what I'm going to do this time. It'll just save an extra middle step. And there we go. Like I said, you can see there's still a little bit of vegetable matter in there in places, but that'll come out as I'm knitting it up. All in all, it rolled into a gorgeous ball. So now I suppose we are on to the fun part, although I do love the spinning part too. So this was a little bit challenging to spin though, so hopefully it'll be a lot easier to knit. But we're going to be using our sock loom 2 to make a pair of socks. All right, so in typical me fashion, this project is taking quite some time. About 2 weeks have now gone by, and I've done multiple sock varieties that I want to talk about here. So needless to say, I've gone ahead and I've actually spun a second ball of yarn because of what's transpired. So let's take a look at these socks. So as you can see, I make my socks on a sock loom. And this is a new thing for me. I have been trying to master using a sock loom for quite some time. So that is why we have a lot of different versions. But I think I've finally got it, and I'm going to show you. Here are the 2 different socks that I made. This was the first one, and on this I used a flat stitch. Now I'm not going to go into a big demonstration. You can YouTube that and find out what a flat stitch is on a loom. But as you can see, it is exceptionally tight. It just didn't go on nicely. It got all twisted. Nobody really loved it. So I sat that one aside. I made basically the exact same pattern, but with the normal flip stitch. I don't know. Maybe once I master this, I'll show a little bit of instruction, but I'm new to this anyways. And as you can see, this sock turned out lovely. Super soft, of course, because we're using lamb's wool. Who uses lamb's wool for making socks, right? We do. But anyways, so now I'm super excited because I might actually achieve making my first pair of socks, and my first pair of socks is going to come from yarn I spun myself. Sock yarn. Never really pushed myself to spin that thin. So super excited. I am going to have them both done as a set before the end of this video. So I'm going to keep working on this and I'm going to bring you back when I've got them ready to go. Well, guys, this video has been ongoing. I think we're probably a month of time has passed throughout the whole process here, but I finally have my first pair of socks done. This is super exciting, made from my own yarn. And I have to say, one thing that I am finding is I am in the process of knitting another pair with store-bought wool sock yarn, which is a lot finer. And I have to admit, I found knitting my own yarn a little bit better and easier. And I'm not sure if that's just because it was a bit thicker, which gave it a bit more forgiveness, I suppose. But either way, there were some things that need to be ironed out and tweaked in my future production of socks, but they turned out gorgeous. And as you can see here, Alex, my daughter, is wearing them. I made them a little too small for myself, but they work perfect. They're a little bit thick, kind of like a slipper sock, but super warm in your boots in the wintertime. So I'm really pleased with this. There was a bit of a twist in one, but I tweaked the pattern on the loom for the second sock. You saw me take that other one out and we're going to redo it. And so now I have two that go on your feet. One has a bit of a twist, but that's okay. That's why my daughter is the guinea pig for this set. And as you can see, even though this was a super problematic fleece that had a lot of negatives to it that people might have just discarded it, we made an amazing and valuable, in my opinion, product and a useful product out of that fleece that probably would have been discarded by most of the industry, if you will. So as a homesteader, homemaker, that sort of thing, it's amazing what you can do with something that might be of a little lesser quality. All right, so Alex is testing out the finished product. Once they're on her feet, you can see what I mean here on this one, how it's twisted at the toe. As opposed to if she gets her foot straight, this one was the last one that I did, and it is beautiful. So wonderful. So I think I figured out the technique. Unfortunately, since she's a test guinea pig, she gets to wear a twisted sock.
I still like them.
They're very comfy, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're like slippers.